Legally in Love, written and narrated by C. Taylor, edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To purchase the unedited book, please click the link in the description. Chapter 10A. Emma had picked up the abandoned spray paint cans from the graffitied neighbor and double-checked the progress of the house painters. John had agreed to pay for the whole house to be repainted, which thrilled the homeowners, and the painters were doing a great job. She then went to the craft supply store and bought more of the colors that were low and picked up a few additional colors in case they wanted to use them, along with a large piece of canvas material. She side-tripped to the massage supply store and bought a few items for her thank you gift for John. She also stopped by the baby supply store and got a car seat for Luke to put in her car. Next, she went to her favorite restaurant, ordered some takeout she would pick up later, and got 2 gift cards for the restaurant with generous amounts on each of them. She went to her favorite boutique and did a little shopping for herself, buying 2 dresses and 3 skirts that would match most of her tops. She also bought a silk lingerie envelope she would keep at her desk to store her underwear before entering his office to expedite any future visits. She bought 2 more gift cards from the boutique, along with 2 pairs of earrings she thought Kim and Jen would like, and had them both gift wrapped. She stopped at a highly recommended spa and bought 2 more gift cards. She checked on couples massages for her and John. Future surprise ideas? She needed to start a list. Gifts and surprises were a part of her life now, a life that was completely out of her comfort zone or control. She should be terrified and running for a cave in the mountains, but even the dinner with Christian, Andy, and Keith was worth going through to have what she had now. Plus, she recovered from what was a bad crash. She'd gone to the hospital for less and ended up staying for days. The level of exhaustion she felt usually started her heart racing, and blackouts always followed. Her heart never started racing, and although she felt like she would collapse from exhaustion, she never felt like she would black out. For those reasons, she argued against going to the emergency room. By the time he drove into their garage, a short nap later, she was much, much better. She then had 2 vigorous and very satisfying lovemaking sessions before going to work and writing the whole morning. Was Christian right? All she had to do was get out more and she'd be miraculously cured? If that was true, it made her think all her health issues were in her head. So she was crazy. That was way, way worse. She called and arranged for Jan to meet at the house after her work. She got back home with barely enough time to finish the rest of her surprises. Kim was out with Luke on a walk, and Jan would be there by 5:30. She unloaded the art supplies and placed them in a corner of the garage. She ran all the smaller bags upstairs and hid them behind her clothes in case she didn't have enough time to put them together before everyone started showing up. She ran back to her car and gathered the larger items, then carried them all upstairs. She set out the foldable massage table in John's bathroom and spread a sheet over it. She put candles around the room, set out her sound machine, and started the essential oil diffuser. She'd wait to light the candles until after dinner. No one was home by the time she finished putting the gift bags together, so she started putting away her clothes. She checked her watch to see how much time she had before she needed to pick up dinner. She took a deep breath. Everything was put away and all her thank you gifts were ready. She heard Kim and Luke coming into the house. She came downstairs, still feeling weird. She was now a part of this house and not just a visitor. She hated how awkward it made her feel and hoped it was just her and not everyone else in this magical place. "Hey, Emma," Kim greeted. "Mommy!" Luke bellowed. "Hey, guys," Emma welcomed and picked up Luke, who ran to her. "Emma, not Mommy." "Mommy!" he repeated. She looked at Kim. "Why do I feel like I'm just making it worse?" "Well, technically you might be his mother now." Emma shook her head. "No, not until I get the okay from Rachel. I'm not even sure how I'm going to tell her I married John." She made a mental note to talk with John about it. Hopefully he'd know what to do. The last thing she wanted was for Rachel to hear it from anyone else or find out on her own. She knew she was going to have to tell Rachel the next time she called. She desperately hoped it didn't make her go over the edge. "I'm sure she'll be happy about it. She seemed to really like you." Kim was always so nice. "I hope so, but liking me and being okay with me marrying her best friend and being in her child's life is something completely different." Kim nodded in agreement. That made her feel both better and worse. Emma saw a car pull up in front of the house. "Oh, Jan made it." "What? Why is she here?" Kim blurted out so suddenly and loudly it made Emma jump. Oh, so sorry. I asked her to come here for, something. Man, she was bad at surprises. Emma, what are you up to? She tried to look innocent, but finally gave up. Apparently, I'm really bad at surprises, so can we wait until Jan gets here so I can just tell you both at the same time? Kim tilted her head at Emma. Sure, she said tentatively. Was she making Kim uncomfortable? Doing something nice wasn't supposed to make people uncomfortable. Wow, how bad at this was she? A knock sounded at the front door. Kim jumped this time, and Emma answered the door, Luke clinging to her arm. He was being ridiculously cute. Favorite little guy ever. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for coming. She hugged her and let her in. Sure, Emma. What's going on? She explained that she wanted to thank them both for her new office and presented them with the gift bag she put together with the earrings and gift cards for them. They seemed excited and grateful. Emma hoped it was genuine and they weren't just being nice. Again, she was new to face-to-face gifts. She would have to develop a baseline to see if she could tell if someone was pretending or genuine. New project. She was pretty sure she would enjoy the research. She also let Kim know she had an early night off. Both Kim and Jan thanked Emma again and left together for a night out. She tried to ignore that there was something weird about how they were acting since she didn't have time to investigate tonight. She grabbed Luke's bag and rushed to her car. She had dinner to pick up and get back before John got home. From John's perspective, John pulled into the garage, relieved to see Emma's car already there. She'd only been at the office for half the day, and he missed her like crazy after she left. Whatever pulled her away today, he had to figure out a way to stop her from ever leaving early again. It was awful. He stepped into the kitchen and smelled something wonderful. Emma and Luke were at the table. She was feeding him. He paused there. This was his family now. He tried to ignore how peaceful and complete he felt at the moment. Tomorrow carried no promises. His life proved that to him over and over. Right when things seemed most right was when they all fell apart. But that was tomorrow. Tonight things were good. Damn good. Emma came to him. Welcome home, she said, and kissed him. Best homecoming ever. Dinner is set for you, so sit and relax. She took his jacket from him. Wow, you are really doing the little woman at home bit tonight. He wasn't sure how he felt about it. He needed to be careful. He knew she was prone to taking care of those she cared about. She had a built-in restriction of not wanting anyone to notice her, so she spent most of her time alone. Would she now start wearing herself out by taking care of everyone in her life? From Kim and Jan's perspective, Kim and Jan both went to the restaurant with the gift cards Emma had given them. They both cheered with the strongest drinks the restaurants offered and tossed them back. Kim took a deep breath. I still can't believe she's married. John is one lucky bastard. Jan raised their next shot. Here, here. Clink, toss. I mean, I always knew she wasn't lesbian, but I just didn't see her getting married. Crappiest day ever. Jan agreed. Here, here. Clink, toss. I took the nanny job with John for her. Kim was starting to get a little tipsy. And those earrings, I mean, they're perfect. At least mine are. You? Jan nodded. I've been looking for something like these for months. How the hell does she do that? And that Renaissance fair? Why do people make fun of those? They're amazing. I already started my outfit for the next one. Oh, I'm so glad you agreed to go back this weekend. There's a headpiece I've been so angry I didn't buy, Jan admitted. I know, right? Let's meet at my apartment on Saturday. It's a date, Jan confirmed. The words lingered awkwardly in the air. Had she just said that? Jan cleared her throat and tried to think of something to say. Change back to the original subject. Emma is fascinating to work with, you know. Any case we research, I mean, I can find things, but the way she puts evidence together, supports arguments, that girl is incredible. Does she mumble those random facts and historical events that explains what she's doing? Kim asked. Jan's eyes grew wide. Yes, how does she do that? I don't know, but you should see her with children. Talk about making your ovaries explode. Here, here. Clink, toss. Jan brushed Kim's hair back from her face. If she had been even a little lesbian, I bet you $1,000,000 she would have jumped you in a minute. Jan was getting a little tipsy too. Her hand glided from her hair to her shoulder. down her back. No, no, there's no way, Kim disputed. Come on, you're gorgeous, you're great with kids, you guys have tons in common, you'd have made the perfect couple. Jan could go on, but the details were getting a little fuzzy, especially when Kim looked up from her alcohol and their eyes locked. No, you two would have been the perfect couple. You have this pretty long, silky hair, perfect skin, and you have way more in common. All that legal jargon and legal speak just makes my head spin. Kim couldn't get her world to stop spinning. Something was happening, but her mind was too intoxicated to figure out what. Jan chuckled and leaned closer. Then she motioned with her finger for Kim to come close. You know, she doesn't know what she's missing, she whispered to Kim. Kim's eyes darkened. Here, here, she whispered, no drinks in either hand. One more breath, and Jan pulled Kim in to kiss her hard. Moments later, they were escorted out of the restaurant for inappropriate behavior. They both got into an Uber. From John's perspective, dinner was delicious. After, John enjoyed sharing tasks with Emma as they cleaned up after dinner, then bathed and put Luke to bed. He pulled her into his arms after they left Luke's room. Same scenario as the other night, only he was able to finish the job against the wall in his darkened room. Whoa, that's how that would have gone? Emma breathlessly huddled against him on the floor, leaning against the wall, bare and shivering from the intense finish. So glad we had a do-over. John chuckled. Last time was cut frustratingly short. Good job second time around, she huffed and raised her hand in a fist. He bumped hers back. Teamwork makes the dream work. Emma chuckled. I think I like being a part of this team. This made him concerned. You think? I'm having a hard time getting my bearings in my new life. Everything that's been happening are things I've been running from my whole life. No catastrophe has happened. I feel healthier than I have in years. Nothing makes sense. I like it all, but it does not make sense. He pulled her close and kissed her head. Yeah, I feel the same way. One step at a time until it starts to make sense. Sound like a plan? She shifted in his arms and looked up at him. This doesn't make sense to you either? I'm a messed up kid from the wrong side of the tracks. For some unfathomable reason, Christian was my roommate at a local state college and even weirder liked me. Then he takes me home and his little sister turns my world upside down. Jump forward 10 years and he arranges to have me marry said sister, who happens to be the most amazing girl that ever existed, and we immediately start training for the Intimacy Olympics. At this rate, we should earn gold medals in about 3 weeks. She laughed, that magical sound, and hugged him. This was heaven, although now that his body wasn't completely jello, the floor was getting uncomfortable. He gathered her in his arms and pulled her to her feet as he stood. He looked at her, marveling that they were riding this unbelievable high together. It amazed him how in sync they were naturally. He pulled her with him into his bathroom, suddenly wanting to relax in a warm, soothing bath with her. As he rounded the corner, he noticed a strange glowing from behind him since he was walking backwards to keep his eyes on her. His eyebrows pulled together in confusion. Emma smiled at him, one eyebrow raised. What was she up to? He turned around. Candles gently lit the room. A warm, piney scent wafted across his senses. The sound of wind and trees and gentle chimes. Bathtub already filled and foamy. At the center of the room, a massage table set up and ready. He'd like to use it for her, but he had a feeling she had a different plan. He turned back to her. I wanted to thank you for my office. I'm not licensed yet, so I can't guarantee it'll be good, but I'll do my best. That sounded promising. You aren't licensed yet? How many subjects had this woman studied? Yes, I studied at a holistic institute at the same time I first started at the university, but Christian and Andi moved back before I could finish, so that particular side project was put on hold. She trailed off when she looked back at him. His face must have told her something, since she looked like she was suddenly very uncomfortable. He smiled warmly. What did you want to be when you grew up? Her smile returned. Not a lawyer. He held her hand, circled around her, and pulled her back to him to cradle her in his arms. You did all this for me? Of course, I really love my office. You know I just opened the door. Kim and Jan did most of the work. Yeah, but you wanted me to work next to you and paid for it. I smelled fresh paint, which meant there was a lot that went into it. Thank you, John. Her hand raised and pulled his face towards hers for a gentle kiss. Next, she slipped away from his embrace and pulled him towards the massage table. He climbed on, face down in the little face hole. She rubbed her hands together to warm them, then placed one hand on his right shoulder and the other on his left hip. She pushed gently against both. Now, I could place a towel or sheet over your private areas if that would make you more comfortable. He reached his right arm around and grabbed her bare rear and squeezed. My bareness is not what's making me uncomfortable. She shifted her rear more completely into his hand and leaned into his ear. I can fix that too, she whispered. He raised his head to look at her. Don't you dare. She smiled and kissed him, then guided his head back down. Just relax, I've got you. He heard her move to the counter. When she returned, her hands were warm and slick. The massage oil felt amazing. Her hands glided across his entire back, covering it completely. Once he was thoroughly covered, she moved his hand above his head and focused on his shoulders. Her hands were magical and surprisingly strong. She kneaded the flesh there deep into his muscles, found the stress points, and added pressure. It was uncomfortable, but he could feel the tension release, and after a few moments of pressure, she massaged again. She continued this system through his back, down his legs, and each arm. She was thorough and took her time. She helped him roll over and gave him some water before he laid back, and she started on his front. She asked a semi-embarrassing question about his bowel movements and carefully massaged his midsection. His chest, shoulders, arms, legs again. By the time she finished, he was wet noodle personified. She helped him sit up and gave him more water. I've just loosened up toxins. You'll need to drink a lot of water or they'll settle back in. He nodded while he was drinking. That was amazing, but didn't you say you studied intimate massage? She smiled and ran her hand through his hair. There are some theories that state that releasing too much can drain a man's life force, and I'm starting to get concerned for your welfare. He put his water down, grabbed her hips, and pulled her between his legs. I gladly give you all of it I can. He smiled his cocky smile, but she didn't smile back. He knew in an instant she cared for him. The knowledge stunned him to his core. I know, she said simply. She cupped his chin and kissed him very gently, frustratingly gently, and backed her body away while taking his hand and pulling him to his feet. She guided him to the bathtub, and they both climbed in, her behind him this time. She was caring for him, protecting him, nurturing him. He'd never had anyone do this before. He realized she always had, as much as she could. Getting Kim to work with Luke had taken care of Luke as an infant. The way she'd argued the case they'd worked a year ago, concerned about the jobs and the health of the company and not just the CEO. She was focusing her caring and kindness on him. It felt incredible. Guilt made him feel unworthy of her or her caring, but he wasn't going to waste a single second of it. She kept the water bottle close for him to drink. She used the washcloth to wipe away the oil from him. He was more relaxed than he'd ever remember being. He felt safe. It was a new feeling, one that he was starting to enjoy. Is it okay if I talk to you about a few things that have been bothering me? Her voice was still soothing, but her words caused him to involuntarily tense. Of course, what's wrong, Emma? She soothingly ran her hand down his chest. I want to tell Rachel about our marriage the next time she calls. I'm afraid of how she'll take the news, but I'm way more afraid of what would happen if I don't and she finds out from somebody else. You know her better than I do. I was hoping you could tell me what I should do or how I should tell her. Rachel. Oh, Emma was right. Rachel had entrusted Luke with him, but how would she feel about someone else being a part of his life? Emma thought he knew her better, but that didn't help much. It happened so fast, didn't it? We didn't get to tell her we were engaged to find out how she felt before this was permanent. I think you're right. We should tell her if she calls. Hopefully I'm there when she does so we can tell her together. He felt her head nod behind him. Okay, next item. I signed the marriage license with just Emma Marie Delaney, but I don't know what to call myself as a married woman other than Mrs. Would you want me to take your name? Again, an engagement would have helped work out all these little details. Most men would want their wives to take their names, but how would that affect her? He felt like she was his, all his, just the way she was. Plus, his name didn't carry any respect in this town thanks to his dad. I don't want you to change at all, even your name. You're perfect just the way you are. It was the best way he could explain his feelings. I liked the way I introduced myself to Keith. Would it be okay if I changed it to Mrs. Emma Marie Delaney Mitchell? Taking on his life, taking on his responsibilities, and even his son, she willingly wanted to take on his name as well. He took her hands that were still stroking his body and wrapped them around himself. I would be honored. He turned to take her lips. She put his hand on his chest. He felt the rising need of her quiet. She'd said she wanted him to have a mellow night, but he didn't want her to take his rising desire from him right now. He just wanted her. He took the hand at his chest and raised it above her head and held it there as he turned and hooked his other arm around her waist. He pulled them both out of the water into the shower. He rinsed off and washed her. It was his turn. She was in his care too, and he'd felt her breathing heavily since the massage started. She needed him. He happily obliged. She was his, in his care that he desperately didn't want to mess up. Luckily, she was very, very good at inspiring his body into action for all her needs.